congratulations. And again, we're just talking about 5 meetings in the last 6 weeks between these two teams. As a head coach, do you love seeing the animosity, the competitive edge that we've seen here over the course of the last 2 days?
Well, yeah, I do. It's hey, listen, it's we want to develop our guys to hate the Montreal Canadiens, just like our Leaf team does. So I don't mind playing a team this much. It makes for good games back and forth. I think it's exciting for the fans when they see the players out there playing so competitive.
Nazem Kadri's bounced back with 10 points in his last 4 games since being a healthy scratch. Was that issued as a challenge to him, or simply 29 guys on a very crowded roster?
Well, no, his play was off. There was a time where he was going through the game. He was getting a ton of chances, but wasn't getting rewarded. And then he went through a couple of games where there just wasn't any chances. And we just thought it was time for him to be pulled from the lineup like we've done with other guys. And the great thing about Naz is he's such a competitive kid. Every night that he plays, he's top 3 competitive guys on our team here. And he responded well. And that's the great thing now and I said it to him the other day, I said, boy, you've really screwed yourself now. And he didn't know what I was talking about. And I said, you showed us once again what you can do and how well you can play, and that's your benchmark. So it's good to see him get rewarded again tonight. I thought he was excellent for most of the game.
The 5-on-3 penalty kill, was that indicative of what you want to see from your club as opposed to what you've seen so far this season?
Yeah, you know what? We put ourselves in a real hole here with our penalty kill percentage. But in the end, it's about getting wins. The game in Oklahoma City hurt us badly with a bunch of 5-on-3s. But here tonight, I thought our PK was better, and it wasn't so much in our zone. We talked about it before. We kept reiterating it during the game that we wanted to be more active up ice. And I think you can kill a lot of penalties outside of your zone. And our guys did a very good job of that tonight.
Say, Dallas, why did you split Holzer and Fraser, your shutdown pairing?
Well, it was more for Jesse Blacker. Jesse had some success last year when we had some injuries of being more of a shutdown guy. Him and I had a heart-to-heart talk just a couple of days ago about his play, and he indicated that he enjoys playing with Ranger, but he thought he might play a little better with Fraser. So, hey, I don't pretend I know everything. I take a lot of direction from the players as well, and we put those two together. And what happened was Jesse had an excellent game, probably his best game of the season so far. And so that's a good step for Jesse to take, and it didn't affect any of our pairings. Our D as a whole played very well tonight.
UC?
He is. We think it'll be under 2 weeks, and it's like a groin pull.
Just something in practice.
Right at the very end of practice. One of those unfortunate. He's probably sitting there now going, "Geez, I shouldn't have taken that last shot."
How about with Ben coming, not only playing better today, but also having a couple of visitors in the crease? You've mentioned, I think, against this team that's been an issue.
Well, yeah, Hamilton, it's clearly their game plan to go after him. And you know what, maybe they were watching the Norfolk series last year. Norfolk was real active in our crease in the final last year. So every game, right from the exhibition games this year, Hamilton have been coming through that crease a lot. And there's not much you can do about it anymore. You want to keep guys out of there, but the game is in the ref's hands. And if a guy takes a shot at your goalie, you can wait for the call, or you can go look for some revenge, and then an offsetting minor. So I thought we were patient with it, and then it finally got to a boiling point where we just couldn't take it anymore. So we had to push back.
You don't want him wrestling in there, though, if possible.
Well, no, and you don't. But at some point, the frustration level goes up high enough that I'm sure he's going to want to get a shot in himself.
What are you thinking when you see a guy like Joe Colburn square off at center?
Well, that had been going on for a while all night. Him and the Hamilton player had been talking, and sometimes that's how they're going to settle things. And you know what? I thought for me it showed that Joe was engaged. He was more than willing, and I really had no problem with that. I'm not a big, hey, let's fight off face-offs, but because they usually mean nothing. But that one was different because those two had been jarring and going at it all night, and they seemed like they had just had enough and they were going to settle it that way.
All right.
I don't know. I haven't seen him since I've come off the ice.
What do you make of Ben's start to the year so far?
Well, I think it's he's had some bad luck in the net. I think there's been a couple of nights where he's played well and we haven't scored as much as we should. I think there's been a few nights where he'd like some of the goals back. But listen, this is development for players. It is an ongoing thing. You just don't. The best way to put it is this: 2 years ago, Ben Scrivens was up and down from the East Coast League. Last year was basically his first year in the American League. He was basically a rookie, and he got on a run. So this isn't okay. He was part of a team that went to the Calder Cup final, and he's the #1 guy, and he doesn't have to work anymore. So I think he's starting to get his fire back. He understands that his work, his attention to detail, his development will never end, and it never does for a player. It's you get 10 years pro, 12 years pro, you still have to do all these little things to prepare. It just never ends, and I think that's probably a little bit part of it. He may have gotten a little comfortable, but I think for the most part for Ben is he's just had a whole bunch of bad luck here early.
That Stortini play, when he jumps Ryan like that, do you want the guys to step in there, or because you know that you're going to come away with a 7-minute power play to back off there?
Well, there weren't many guys in the vicinity there. Will Acton tried to grab him. They had another guy right there, and they paired off. And the one thing I would like to see is, number one, that is about as cowardly a play as you see. A guy is down, he's covered up, and you're still pounding him. I think he punched him 8 times, I counted. And I've got no use for that. Listen, you put the guy down, you want to give him a shot, then fine. But when there's no fight back, it's over. I thought the referee could have probably grabbed the guy's arm. He was the closest guy, but it looked like he was waiting for the linesman. And hey, these things happen. Kenny Ryan was unscathed, and Stortini basically cost them the game earlier on with his play 5-on-5.
Were you more happy today or pleased with your team's compete level through the 60? Because even at the end when it was scrambled, it was still fiery, still intense.
Yeah, I thought, yesterday in Hamilton, I could tell our guys were tired. I walked through the dressing room to go grab a towel, and it was quiet in there. And when I was speaking to the team, they were quiet, and they seemed a little bit asleep. And that happens on long road trips. You go through multiple time zones. We haven't been able to have a solid practice here in over a week. So I think that was part of it last night, and I thought we tried to push and get more competitive in the game yesterday. But tonight we had some time to really get prepared, and we basically went back through the simple parts of our systems. I think everybody getting another night sleep in their own bed seemed to be a good thing, and today it was like a different team showed up. They were attentive, they were full of fire, and we had a pushback. Like that game last night, I think, was a hard thing for a lot of guys to swallow, and there's two ways to go on that. It's like, well, poor me. Let's hope we can do it tonight, or you know what, screw that. We're pushing back, and we're going to flex our muscles a little bit, and that's what happened here today.
First time it did get a little chippy. The next line, you seem to put Fraser out there. Is he sort of the team sheriff when things are getting rough?
Well, I don't know if he's the sheriff, but he's certainly a guy that I wouldn't want to look dead in the eye for too long. He can certainly settle things down, and it's always interesting on the ice. Like when you've got a guy like Fraser out there, and let's take a guy like Stortini, not a lot of talk. And then suddenly when he's not on the ice, then a guy like Stortini has a whole lot to say. So yeah, I think he definitely calms things down a lot, and yeah, so I'm not sure he's the sheriff, but he certainly is somebody that will calm down unruly players.
Most of the guys besides Dylan go back in the lineup tomorrow?
We got the bingo balls going in there right now. Well, we're going to talk about it. Like, Ben didn't have a whole lot of action here tonight, so I'm going to touch base with him. I'd like to get Mark in the game. But another thing we've got to speak about now.